Okay, recording this. Get on audio. We're recording this.
Perfect. Good to call to order the April 14th local Metropolitan Park District meeting, regular meeting. And who would like to say the message?
I can jump in. TPMPD mission statement. Provide a welcoming public aquatics facility managed in a fiscally responsible manner with a focus on educating all ages in the lifelong skills of water safety. And carry out this mission with a board and staff who are compassionate, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of our diverse community, working to foster positive and lifelong experiences with aquatic environments. TPMPD vision statement needs contributing to the quality of life for our community and for future generations through welcoming, fun, safe, positive aquatic experiences at the Tukwila Pool.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. I'll start with that. My left.
Commissioner and presence.
But to my right.
Commissioner Gangler present.
Commissioner Stahl present.
And myself, Commissioner Zottel is present. We are also joined by our Executive Director, Brad Hartman, and our Program Program Manager, Anastasia Supero. I'm looking for a motion to.
Commissioner Stahl would like to make a motion to excuse Commissioner Frangella Anderson from today's meeting. Commissioner Shipman second.
Any discussion? I hope she's having a lovely time. Seeing none, all those in favor of excusing Commissioner Frangella Anderson, say aye. All those opposed? Now I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Commissioner Stahl second.
Is there any discussion about the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And because we're coming up to the month of May, we have a water safety proclamation. And it's resolution 2025-02. And I will read it and then we can to approve it because we're going to read the whole thing rather than title. The resolution 2025-02, May Water Safety Month Proclamation Resolution, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District proclaiming the month of May 2025 as Water Safety Month. Whereas the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District recognizes the vital role that swimming and aquatic related activities play in physical and mental health by enhancing the overall quality of life for individuals. And whereas the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District understands the essential role that education regarding the topic of water safety plays in preventing recreation water related injuries. And whereas the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan District adheres to the standards set forth by the recreational water industry as represented by the National Recreation and Parks Association, NRPA, the Association of Pool and Spa Professionals, and the World Water Park Association. These standards focus on developing safe swimming facilities, aquatic programs, and related activities, providing healthy places to recreate, growth and development, self-esteem building, confidence, and sense of self-worth, all contributing to the quality of life in our community. And whereas the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District recognizes the ongoing efforts and commitment to educating the public on pool and water safety issues and initiatives. And whereas the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District understands the importance of communicating water safety rules and programs to families and individuals of all ages. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District does hereby resolve as follows. We, the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Water Safety Month. And looking for a motion.
Right.
Make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Commissioner Saul seconds.
Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to have a correction.
Yes, a correction to amend it to say 2025. As I stated.
Yes, as you stated. That's it, the only correction I see.
And this is, just to note that this is also in conjunction with Water Safety Month, and the state of Washington is also in May. So we usually do this in May, because we don't meet until the second week in May. It made more sense to do it in April, so we're the whole month of May, water safety. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving resolution 2025-02
As amended.
as amended? Say aye.
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 All those opposed? So the next thing on the agenda is the employee of the month. Who would like to talk? Christian.
Yeah, Christian's our employee of the month. Christian's been with the pool, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years, roughly 2 years. And he is one of our midday lifeguards and one of our newer swim instructors. He got a certification this summer. Christian has really been holding down our midday, very consistent, pretty much knows the ins and outs of our day. He's taking on a lot of different roles, and has a drive to learn more. And we've seen such a big change in Christian from when he first started into where he is now. So, we just want to appreciate his growth, development, and his ability to demonstrate a great level of care for his students. You can tell his students really, really enjoy his classes. But not only is he able to teach minnows, he also has the flexibility to teach all other levels. He's shown great promise in teaching our short fin and long fin and all more. So I just want to thank Christian for everything he does.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah.
There any comments? Moving on to citizen comments. I know there was one that looked like an email and Google reviews. Brad, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, real quickly, we received an email, and not only an email, but we're regularly receiving verbal requests for a bathing suit dryer, a wringer dryer. And so we have predominantly our water aerobics families or participants are constantly curious in what this could look like for the facility, and if they could run a fundraiser and contribute to such piece of equipment. This is something that we've heard for a number of years, and something that I have started entertaining to bring one potentially into the facility in the lobby, not in the locker rooms, and something that we can manage when it's in use and when it's not, based on peak times and activities. But I just appreciate these folks reaching out. They see the value, and I don't think our customers understand the maintenance challenges with it, the ongoing maintenance challenges. So just some fine tuning there, and then we'll figure out if there's opportunity. I will say this, because I dug into it. The industry has changed around these. And when I thought we needed a drain, so when the water escapes the dryer, because just go out to the floor, our old facility, we don't have a lot of options. Now they make them with a catch basin
Nice.
that you can remove and empty the water, which I thought was pretty fascinating. We'll look into it and see if we can't make a rational decision on this, and if we're able to accommodate, and or if we are not. As of this point, our community is patient.
Are we going to maybe seeing what that group that talked about a fundraiser, what that would look like if they wanted to take that on, or what? I don't know if that's something we're interested in. Okay.
Not interested.
Encourage it.
No, not interested. We don't want to, what we want to avoid in our long-term development is not doing these one-off specialty fundraisers that dilutes kind of what we're actually working on. So at the time to call to action, larger fundraiser, we want people to contribute to a bigger, meaningful project. Not that these things aren't meaningful, but I'd rather them turn their attention into swim scholarship donations and things like that, versus,
I mean, I remember having discussion about this in the past, and there's a lot of concerns, like somebody gets hurt, you know, they break the machine, it's not a cheap machine. And I'm wondering, you know, I haven't looked into the industry for a while, but I'm wondering if there might be some, you know, common, you know, household tips that, you know, like if we sold super absorbent towels, that, you know, and say, hey, if you want to keep your swimsuit, dry your swimsuit off, we recommend, you know, and I don't even know if that's even a valid option, but there's gotta be a lot of people who, you know, think about that, whether they work for a swimsuit company or something, because I just, you know, I mean, I agree with you on I don't want to encourage what, you know, they want to do a fundraiser for what they want, which I totally get, but that's not necessarily what we're interested in. We want, you know, constant funds coming in, not just, you know, one-offs because I want, you know, a swim dryer. But, and, you know, and all the liability that includes and all the risk management is what I'm concerned about.
yeah. Great feedback on I'm just happy people are comfortable reaching out and asking for things to, whether it improves their own personal experience or it improves the overall facility experience. So I was really happy to hear from these folks. And then, yeah, we'll see what we're able to do for them.
One of the things that I did find was, and I don't know if people would be interested or not, is you can buy like a bag that you can put your swimsuit in so that at least it, you know, keeps it apart from,
Right.
you know, and we could sell merch that has, you know, the TPMPD logo and stuff like that, which would get our name out there and,
Well, speaking of, I'm sorry to digress, but yes, I think you are correct. People have really captivated drawing their eye to our hoodies with our new logo. And I've already received a couple of comments out this weekend, when I wore this on Saturday at Costco. Quick shout out to Tuckwell Pool from a member who was just walking by. Oh, yeah. And then just in general, right? So the visual and then so thank you for the branding and these, we appreciate that. Hopefully. Oh, yeah, sure. You wore it out. I love it. Good. So yes, ongoing. The other comments are, typical Google reviews, 5 stars all the way around. Today was my first time visiting the pool with my son, and we will definitely be back. The staff was very friendly. So that's just phenomenal to hear, from some of our customers. So we're always appreciative of any good and or constructive feedback.
Particularly like the wonderful community oriented. I like, maybe not. They all make me. Are there any other, is there anyone online? Is there any other comments on citizen? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
Commissioner would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Commissioner Shipman seconds.
Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing that all those in favor of passing the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, reports. We are moving on to the executive director report.
Just a couple things. Our annual State of the City address hosted by our mayor of Tuckahoe, Thomas McLeod, was well attended. I was actually surprised because our legislative open house didn't seem to be as well attended, but I could also be misinterpreting size and numbers. But this one was very, very well attended. And great to see folks coming down the main high school corridor leading to the auditorium, engaging with all the community tables and groups that had an opportunity to participate. So we really appreciated Mayor McLeod's invitation to participate, but also the ability to sit in the presentation he gave. That was attended by Commissioner Zapino and myself, Anastasia Shapiro, our aquatic program manager. In the tabling, Tuckahoe pool programs and information, as well as feasibility and elections info was shared. Washington City's insurance, our insurance company, we recently did our annual review. This year's review is on Public Works. Technically, it does not have a Public Works department. So our review is essentially our typical operation. It's usually the same every year. And nothing to note, I did have an opportunity to distribute that information in an update a little bit ago. So everybody's got the same info I received upon the review, which was pretty informative to see who our group members are, some of our claim, our loss runs, things like that. I do just want to share, that information is BoC eyes only, and not to be distributed throughout the community. And then reinforcing that, not because of us specifically, but WCIA just sent out an explicit email that says the things that are shared need to stay with our public records officers, commissioners essentially, and internal contacts. Per some RCW, they're not, information are not required to be shared. But we can share more on that later. But overall, annual review is done. I attached our follow-up letter, which is pretty standard for our beginning of year review. And then the biggest thing that came out of our review that we find to be a benefit, for the first time, WCA is going to lead a 1-hour training on risk waivers. There's been a lot of discussion around risk waivers within Parks and Rec. A lot of their members are WCA's members as well as us, based on things that have been happening in 2024. And waivers seem to be a common theme. So their executive director essentially is going to lead a 1-hour training session on benefits, the purpose, how to build a waiver that supports kind of our mitigation. So we'll be sitting in on that training, and then we will essentially be coordinating internally as well as through committee to go through liability waiver for the facility. And then make some suggested updates or recommendations, or recommended updates as it comes out of the training. Grant funding activity, we'll be talking about this, well, I'll just talk about it now and then we can keep it short at feasibility, but King County Parks Levy Aquatics Facilities Grant was submitted April 1st with a $5 million request. Thank you, Vanessa, Rosen, Ellen, everybody, commissioners, volunteers for giving your input, your voice to really making sure that that grant application was guided in the direction we needed to be. The Rosens, for their incredible support and work with us on that and meeting our deadlines. What I did find the most interesting with this, and again, I shared it through a separate email, is the statistics. I'm just going to say it out loud. But the initial 7-point-something million we thought was available, 16 million became available. And out of the 16 million, we have about $35 million worth of funding requests through a handful of applicants, roughly 15. So it does remind us that going into this process, for this being the last year, that it has remained competitive. So it'll be fascinating to see how all this kind of ends and culminates with awards. Hopefully sometime this summer or end of summer, we'll have some additional information. Youth Amateur Sports Grant is our next grant that we'll be writing. We had an opportunity again to meet with the Rosies to really discuss kind of the overall structure of the grant. So Anastasia, opportunity to sit in on that call. We will be looking for anywhere between $75,000 and $100,000 grant request to support every third grader learns to swim program in Tukwila. And then that would also potentially include Impact Charter as well as Rainbow Prep, who we currently partner with. So that would be kind of an overreaching, but our immediate goal would be Tukwila Impact. That was discussed on the grant call. Is there a way to, if you're not getting kind of the traffic you're looking for, to broaden your reach? So we'll be kind of digging into that this week and then through the end of that grant submission. So that is coming up in ongoing work. Financial accountability audit. So, does someone have any questions before I just keep going? Oh,
school kids? And what about, kids who are currently at like Renton School District?
For those that are homeschooled, the information will still go out to them. And they'll have the opportunity, that will have to be coordinated through however they get their information from the school, and if the parents come and pick up. But I'm not familiar with those in the Renton School District.
Is the intent or Highline?
Right, or.
So just because our borders include Highline and Renton, so we just want to make sure we have a process to accommodate all residents, regardless of which school they choose to attend. Whether they choose to attend a private school, a public school, et cetera, that they would all have an opportunity to, you know?
Oh, no, I'm listening.
Yeah, so that was just a process to capture, it's a much smaller, obviously much smaller piece, but just be aware that that's.
I mean, it might be something that could go into like the hazelnut.
Yeah.
Yeah, the success of this is gonna be the communication. It's where it gets communicated out and the intention of getting it into the hands of the families. And so that will be one of the biggest challenges when communicating and getting this out there. That was not my initial understanding. Because I think we so often use the words Tukwila students. Initially think of Highline and or Renton, but I think maybe we transition our language. Tukwila families, right, regardless of where they go to school. And I think that is my lack of understanding when communicating.
And there's
this.
also the mosque.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just regardless of their school affiliation, if they're a Tukwila resident, is what I see that, right? So
Right.
it's like kids going to humanity, but to St. Bernadette,
Absolutely, yeah.
The Kennedy could also be one too.
third grade.
Third grade.
Oh, sorry. But yes.
Awesome. So, great feedback, and I think those are some things we'll definitely take into consideration when we start building out that marketing and communication piece around this program. Washington State Auditor's Office, we have engaged in our 3-year financial audit. That audit has begun, just so everybody's aware. That audit is actively being worked on, and we are anticipating submitting our annual report by this Friday, the 18th, which is traditionally due May 31st. But in order to keep the 3-year financial going, they need the 2024 because 24 is included in the 3 years rather than audit. So we need to get it done earlier. So hopefully by Friday, we will have our annual report submitted to our auditor. And then, again, this reminder does not replace our accountability audit, which takes place in the fall. Annual financial reporting webinar, which supports the auditing process, fascinating. For someone who does not really participate in this part of our business or has not in the past. So this is very informative, and some great resources coming out of it in terms of how we guide our next annual audit. And or our financial reviews. So, great info. We did have an opportunity to meet with Tukwila Parks and Recreation for our first quarterly meeting of the new year. Pretty much caught up with the crew and then general discussion around program services. And again, summer's fast tracking. Everyone's talking about summer resources. But yeah, overall, a really great conversation with the team, but I'm not gonna bore everybody with simple details, but it was a good opportunity to catch up and just start planning what summer looks like. In the future, this meeting will stay pretty high level, board president, Parks and Rec director, and or Parks and Rec managers. And then the programmatic pieces of these types of meetings that we were discussing last year will stay with the programs teams between both agencies. So that means the Parks and Rec program team and our program team will be able to coordinate from a programmatic level and or resources. So that is coming up. So programmers will be meeting soon once we agree on a date, get everyone connected. So continued work there. Facility project, our pool pump number 5, our main pump that we've been discussing for a couple months now. Finance committee did give us the approval to go ahead and move forward with a estimate that was provided by Pacific Pools. out of 3 pump options. So this pump, that we are moving forward with has, we've essentially given Orca Pacific the go-ahead to move forward. So they will start sourcing the pump, purchasing the pump, and then making sure that it is available and on site in addition to the parts required to assemble it. So that way, when we are ready as an organization to do our next closure, planned closure, it should be a seamless process at that point. We're not gonna be waiting on timelines and additional materials. It's more about scheduling. So, happy that we're able to keep that process moving, so that way it doesn't interrupt our operations. Should our current pump fail, same concept. It's already on site. We'll be able to just schedule work at that point. When to work is the last thing that I will share, because this came up a number of times. And we, hopefully all commissioners received an email or have already been accessing when to work, whether it be in the past or current, to reset passwords or just to double check their username and access levels so they can continue to receive the communications they were receiving from the operations team, especially when it's centered around closures or immediate high-level notices that has been distributed. But we do have enough, as I call seats, to continue to add folks, which means nobody has to lose access. I know our finance committee chair really enjoyed getting those and being informed. So I just want to make sure everybody had an update. Nobody has lost access to when to work. If you do have any challenges logging in, please just reach out so I can get you set up and taken care of.
Brad, is there any more questions for Brad? If not, move on to Anastasia, operations programming.
So we have session C, we're currently finishing up session C right now. So this is kind of between our winter, spring lessons. This session was a little bit interesting. We had quite a few cancellations, mainly due to Kennedy Catholic. They had 4 games that impacted all of our Tuesday, Thursday sessions. So anyone in the Tuesday, Thursday lessons only got 4 classes. And then our Saturday, we had to cancel that session to do a instructor reentry course, but also a longer in-service opportunity for those, because we had been 6 participants. So I treated it as an in-service, but also as a WSI reentry course. So those cancellations, we discussed that to meet with Kennedy and their athletic director well before they start planning their season, to kind of lay out understanding of and our potential restrictions for which days they can and cannot rent. That is quite a few lessons that impact us. Yes, they did tell us ahead of time, but at the end of the day, it's inconsistent to our families, and we want to make sure everyone's getting high quality, high level swim lessons. And if they're not, we need to figure out a way that we can accommodate them differently. So for Kennedy, that might mean maybe moving them to Friday meets, so on and so forth. So lots of discussion there.
No, it's the only thing I was gonna say. It's just the nuances of trying to figure out how to balance the needs between our families and our actual Tukwila Pool MPD programming. And that's what it really is gonna come down to. So some intentional conversations do need to happen. Because when we look at half of a session was affected due to swim meets, which we understand, same time, it's also a significant loss in revenue to Tukwila Pool when we look at half the session. And then again, we already know it's a challenge to get into our programs. And then to continuously this in front of our families, especially during swim team season, just house the issues we hear. So get ahead of it. How do we turn it into a positive? It's going to be kind of that internal discussion as we go into the next high school swim season.
And I mean, did we have the discussion before, finance wise, about like when we do have swim meets that's going for a higher rate, so we are making up for the loss of swim lessons on those days?
We do carry a higher rate. We have a closure fee, but the closure fees are not they're not designed to recoup 100% of your losses. They're just enough to add a closure fee to minimize, a percentage of the, rate.
Well, it would depend what programming is going on, right? So, yeah, I mean, like if you've got an open swim, your revenue is gonna be quite different than it is to have a whole bunch of swim lessons. Our impact is much different that way.
Correct.
Well, and what would be really interesting to know is
Yeah.
if somebody, if people can't, if we canceled, and so people who were in swim lessons weren't able to attend, they're going to other pools, are they getting their swim lessons from other places? Are we losing families because of it? And certainly that doesn't seem to be aligned to our mission and vision, which is instruction.
Yeah, no, I appreciate hearing that we're gonna be proactively from now on, looking at that. Like Fridays or when it doesn't impact our families, because that's the last thing it sounds like any of us want.
Yeah,
Well, it was-
moving the lessons to Fridays last year was a kind of a temporary accommodation, but again, we're taking away family open swim time as well on Fridays, but also that scheduling change impacted the overall staff morale, I wanna say, which again, it's not up to staff entirely, but I also, I think, want to continue to maintain a balance between when we offer lessons, when we shift them that much. So, while we can accommodate, I think it's just a bigger discussion, just in a positive way to see where we want to help you guys out, but this is our limit, all big things to talk about.
It'd also be really interesting to know, how spring breaks affect swim lesson attendance. Because they're, Tukwila, I don't know when Renton had their spring break, Tukwila just had their spring break. And if there's, if people are like, well, I'm out of town, my kid's not gonna go to swim lessons, then that might be a good time to take advantage of pool space. And maybe shift something. I don't know, I'm just, I don't wanna, alienate our great partners, like Kennedy's been such a good partner. But I also, think that we should be concentrating on swim lessons and not irritating our customers and having them go to other places.
Absolutely, that's great feedback there. I actually think that would be interesting, and that might just be like a quarterly survey where we may add, during your spring break, our lessons and whatever that question looks like. I just wanted to end my piece with, the system shock, right? When you take a parent routine from our Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday offering, and then we do what we did last year, which was a temporary stopgap, right? So we can continue to serve and bring them back to their traditional schedule and then modify their schedule. It creates this roller coaster that they can't keep up with, and then you, as the programming team, are flooded with questions. Well, what do we expect next session? And then it's like, wait, but this is what we were doing last session. I wasn't ready to register so we just got to figure that out. And the goal is, from the feedback that Ellen was alluding to, is our retention. We want to retain our families. We want to retain who's in our programs, to start really figuring out and refining how we do that without impacting, but again, serving our partners as well as our community.
And also how to attract more, because if you have very consistent
Mhm.
offering, that's attraction.
Yeah.
Well, so that'd be interesting, like what are, let's say, like the high school standard swim meet days? Is it Thursdays? Is it, like every Thursday for the season? And then like they're, so is it like, and is it like the same for like boys and girls? And then how does it look at for, say, like water polo season? What time are those matches at? And, so is it like one of those things where like, yeah, this 4-month period where we have, boys swim team or girls swim team, boys swim team, water polo for girls, water polo for boys, is it consistently like Thursdays are, a meet day minus, one here and there? Then is it better to make it like that 4-month, just be like, it's it is on Friday?
For water polo this year, it's Tuesday, Thursday. I don't know why. It just shifted. For the last 2 years, it was on Mondays and Wednesdays. The thing that I did want to say is typically this is the time I get emails and verbal questions on summer lessons. So this is, parents are ramping up for some, talk about planning, but this is when they want to get their kids swim lessons. So this is that concession that I start to see our registration typically go up. But this inconsistency doesn't really help for those that are trying to get summer lessons. Cause I swim tested a few families where they're like, yeah, we're going. You know, for example, one was going to the islands for the summer and they wanted to make sure that they get swim lessons, or just enhance their learning, but yeah, it's definitely tough to say because swim meets have been super consistent on Tuesday, Thursdays, but water polo has now shifted this year to to Tuesday, Thursday, so be interested to know what the reasoning is, but yeah. All of the anything else on that one? So and then moving on to swim club, speaking on summer, we're ramping up for our summer splash league. So I did have a meeting with, three of our teams. One of them was unable, federal was unable to make it, but I'll be meeting with them one-on-one. We had a lengthy discussion on hosting and things like that. Fife has offered to host the majority of the meets along with us. But the Covington pool will only be hosting one meet, this year, which is the championship meet, so they have a new program person that is still learning, the ropes there, their previous program person moved it on, so they're only, looking to host one meet this year, but excited to hear that Fife is interested in hosting more. They can only accommodate one team at a time or two smaller teams, but we anticipate our team's probably gonna be about 20 kids. The other teams seem to be much larger. Our benefit is that we are year round, which is I think our main attraction, for Baker Sharks is that off-season training time, but again, that's where we're trying to enhance, how do we keep competitions year round, and summer is just an added fun piece for our students. All good things, so Tupelo Pool is, I wanna say the lead on Summer Splash League this year. And then I'll be looking into potentially, portable timing systems, but not necessary. There's just a lot of kids, a lot of these teams have 50 to 70 kids, in their teams alone, so it's a lot of timing sheets, a lot of timers that are needed, so just wanna put that for everybody.
Is Federal Way gonna host any?
Haven't had my one-on-one
Oh,
with them
okay.
yet, but I'll see if they are interested. They didn't fill out my Google form, so we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to, but I believe their deck space is also very limited, just like ours, we all have, super limited deck space. All right, moving on to any questions on splashing? Moving on to our.
Other than thank you for taking the lead.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
exciting. Good, congratulations.
Yeah, just an added thing, but it's all good. We've been the most consistent out of everybody, but unfortunately, Eden probably won't be able to host this year. I was kind of hoping they would host me. That's okay. So I want to move on to our egg hunt. So we have 110 registered, but only 80 attended. Parking was not an issue this year. Gabe did a really good job of respecting our event day. I gave him 4 times already, all of our event days, but I will just shoot him an email just to make sure we're all on the same page for our safety event. So we had a couple of Key Club volunteers. We had, Alex was our community volunteer. We had Di there. Stray Mom was with us in spirit. She, dropped off all of the prizes. She put all of those together, got all of the solicitation for the prizes. So, very appreciative. I had a conversation with her. So very appreciative for all of her help on that. And then Vanessa and Ellen, thank you for being there as well. Helped a lot. It felt like a good number of volunteers, helping out versus an overload of people where there's too many people, but not enough to do. So, it was all good. Overall, families had a really great time, but, our event, I guess the confusion is our event. Itself is kind of short. Egg hunt itself is not the entire 2 hours, but they do get guaranteed open swim time essentially until 4. So that was a little bit of confusion. The other big piece was whether or not parents needed to register themselves and their kids or just their kids. And so next year, the communication is if your child is a non-swimmer, 6 and under, so on and so forth, you do need to register yourself as well. So that is our egg hunt event, but the sun came out just for our event. Yeah.
Well,
so-
I mean, and I guess like, that, I mean, that should be like the standard for all of our events. For the information to be handed out. No, the standard part about like whether or not a parent needs to register to do. that.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
not next year's ACAM, but like
Mhm.
every event.
It's the same communication for our family open swim, that we need to, complete before summer is that translated piece of saying, hey, if you have a child in a life jacket, you will be asked to get in, things like that, so, that way nobody is confused about when to get in. Our next up is water safety event, it will be Saturday, May 17th. The event will be from 1 to 3. I've reached out to Puget Sound Fire with their community specialists to get a fire engine out, as well as the, local Red Cross chapter. They're trying out their new bystander CPR program, so I thought it would be nice, to have them on site helping, lead that station. I'll also be reaching out to Washington Kayak. They've been a great partner for this, if they partner with us this year, it's their 3rd year, partner with us on this event, so it's gonna be pretty standard, but this year with, 2 groups instead of 1 group, so, hope 50 people per hour, so 2 hours, 50 people per hour, serving hopefully 100 people. The posters will be down there tomorrow, or this week, after we're done, but, all of the marketing for that event is completed and just needs to be sent out, so,
Yeah, I have a quick question. Is there anything that we're gonna do differently or communication in a way? I know it's always challenging when it's a free event, when people reserving spots. Will there be follow-up communication with people, like in that week before, to remind them that they're,
Yeah.
just because if they're not gonna take the spot, it'd be great to open it.
Yeah, I send a newsletter out, 2 days before the event, just as a reminder with additional information like parking, so, and I also send, one, it kind of depends on the timing, so 1 to 2 additional newsletters just to the community. And then they always get a follow-up that says, hey, you're registered for this event, here's what you need to know. I never give them the timing breakout, I stopped giving that out, it's caused a lot of confusion, but I think last year the parking was a huge issue. We have a very limited parking, and I think it scared some families when we said, hey, parking is limited, like,
Ahead of
just
time,
know.
yeah.
I mean, there's not much you can do if a family decides, hey, I no longer wanna go. I mean, personally, if I heard parking was a challenge and it's a free event, I'm gonna be like, whatever,
But we just wanna communicate that if you're not planning to come,
Yeah,
to allow other people the opportunity. Because it could be that they're taking opportunities away from people who would like to do it.
typically, you do a good job. Piece in there, so to email me, typically they do a good job, but, we still get those no-shows, like this event, we had like 30 people who didn't show up, but
And
the
that
kind
one,
included walk-ins, so these are people who we let take the spots of those who did not show.
So there was more than 30 people that didn't show up.
so, but they've all paid. So regardless of the fact they pay $7 per whatever person, they paid, so.
And they don't get a refund, right?
Yeah, I'm not believing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, but hopefully we don't see that drop off, but we will also be competing with Mount Rainier and some other pools this year. Last year, we were around the same time, we actually had our events on the same days last year, so theirs is in April, and then ours will be in May, so haven't looked into Rainier Beach or Seattle Parks to see when they're doing theirs, but hopefully that kind of helps dilute where people go, concentrate where people go versus diluting where people go.
I think it would be really good going forward if we had some historic information on past events. We only have 4 events. And, I mean, right now I can't, what was Easter, what was Egg Hunt like last year? I don't remember. And I think that as we create events, we should be adding more participants, not less. And if we're getting less, then that would be interesting to know that. So I think it's really, really important. What are your points?
I was ahead of you.
Huh?
I'm with you,
Yeah.
because I made a note earlier, that essentially says what you said. I think it'd be interesting to run the data trend on all
Right.
and see what this looks like, from like a 5-year perspective, because I think we've got a lot of this data just need to pull that pressure off and just start getting some of this to see what we have, even if it's a little bit, so we'll get that. That's great feedback, because I was thinking this.
And I think, and this is kind of a little bit off topic, but we had talked about goals and the board creating goals, and I think the board should consider creating goals regarding events. Again, since we only have 4, and, you know, looking at those as metrics instead of, you know, anecdotal, and actually, you know, if numbers are going down, what are we, you know, what can we do to bring numbers up? Because again, as they become more and more established, one would think that, you know, we'd be creating a reputation, and if we're not, then what can we do to start creating a reputation? So.
That's a good point. So what was 110 the maximum?
We had a wait list of like 20 people.
Okay,
Well,
but that's important too.
what's the purpose of a wait list? Did we contact them? I mean, yeah,
We don't know if unless they didn't show up,
so I'm curious why we have a wait
in
list.
case people cancel ahead of, sorry.
Oh, right.
We
I
keep those
can-
at the time, but.
Well, I think great discussion for
Yeah.
PBOC. I think that's a great opportunity to really, I think the goals piece as well
Well,
as.
I mean, I think, so on like the whole like waitlist part, like, I mean, there is a part in which like over 30 people didn't show up. You know, that could have shown up, that we could have, basically that whole waitlist could have come. And it wouldn't have been an
But
issue.
that allows us to also see the demand for data. So that's the same as from us, when I have a wait list, it allows us to see the demand for the class. So if I know traditionally over a 3-year period, 20% people don't show up, so I could theoretically increase my registration by 20%.
Right, and that's what I'm kind of
Exactly.
curious about, because like, I do feel like we're seeing like this, like over and over again, and I'm sure the numbers will probably are gonna show that we are 20, 30 people less than what's registering.
Yeah, well, we can't really control what people do.
Yeah, I agree, but trend wise, if like I said, if on average, like it is like 20% of people don't show up.
It's just.
Then you can do what you were talking
Like I
about,
said,
administration,
increase it by
increase the amount of
50%.
registration
Yeah.
that allows to happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then have a note so we don't question it next time. Airlines.
So do we have?
I was just about to say, you could run into issues like airlines, though, if you overbook and everybody
But
can show up.
I mean, like, I kind of agree, but I think if we had everybody show up, I think it would still be okay though.
So, yeah. Sorry to, we'll talk about this, on fixed suspension, thank you.
Is there pre-registration for safety though, water safety?
Yes, there's always.
Okay.
So for the sake of time. so I'm gonna-
I do want to stop, like, just really quick on that though, because. I mean, there is this part where I'm like, and we can discuss more PMOC, whatever. Well, that you're saying there's always pre-registration. There hasn't always been pre-registration. There's been like suggested pre-registration, or you can just show up. You didn't necessarily have a problem with that previously that I'm aware of.
It's been cleared that it's pre-registration is required for the last 3 years that I've done.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, in my time, that's over 3 years, we have had it without pre-registration. Pre-registration was preferred, but there was still walk-in acceptance. And, you know, and the numbers maybe could have been higher, and that's why I'm interested, how far can we go back to see what those numbers really look like? You know, just because,
Well, so excellent that it's been brought up now, so maybe at the meeting for PMOC, some of those historic numbers can be pulled.
So moving on to the state of the city of Van Broward, we talked about it, so I won't talk too much on that one. It's just good to see people asking about programs, swim lessons, grabbing all of those materials. And then we, on the marketing piece, so we got the flyer, I've already approved it. Some changes have been made, but like I said, that will be sent out this week. And then I did put in a small request to Washington Parks and Rec for some life jackets. We do have a number downstairs. We're mostly missing infant life jacket. We have plenty of youth life jackets. But just a small request for some adult and infant life jackets. I don't want to over order. Since we have a ton sitting downstairs, want to make sure everybody gets one. Cause that's the goal. We don't want to hold on to them. And so the last piece on the marketing is our summer 2025 schedule has been drafted. Matthew, Brad, and I all met on that. So at this April, was it 19th PMOC meeting, and TPAC meeting, we'll be discussing 3 different options and drafts and talking through those. And then, to Hanson Graphic Design, so when we receive the, trifolds options, she's starting to work on some, pieces of that, but we'll get something by the end of this week, hopefully, on that trifold. So, the goal is to have online schedule and everything updated as soon as everything is approved on, Saturday. Beginning of May, we want to make sure we have that summer schedule, online, also emailed out to our patrons so that they can start planning ahead. Since right now it's maybe last summers that will be impacted, but also giving families the opportunity to start purchasing their summer youth passes, and seeing our family open swim schedule. Any questions on those last few pieces? Biggest thing is, that I want to discuss before moving on to operations is our Q1 programs report. So that's the fun chart. Yes, can you guys see here? So it's a long, so, this is from January through March, just kind of comedic high level areas. And I know you guys have had a small opportunity here to look through them. Some things that I wanted to bring our attention to when it comes to registration. So, I pulled up the Q1 comparisons from 2023 to 2024, and this year, as you can see, there is a significant drop in revenue from 2024 Q1 last year to this year. Some things that, that I believe and have identified that are affected registration are water polo game cancellations and home games have, made a little inconsistent for our families. Staff scheduling, our Tuesday, Thursdays are a little tight on staffing. And then our Ramadan/fasting families, may potentially, choose to not register for lessons. Again, this is assuming, I'm not, trying to make the decision for them, but through understanding, some of our families that this may affect their decision to register, for swim lessons, this quarter. So otherwise, we had a strong demand for our short fin and long fin classes. So, I tried to offer a few more of those classes this last session, including adding a Saturday class where they can supplement their learning on the weekdays. That has stayed pretty steady, but our, minnows class demand just went up for session C, was not quite as high for session A and session B. We still haven't added a parent talk class, but that will be a summer discussion. The reason why, cause some have asked is parent taught is a very intentional class and there has to be intentional training for that class. We want to make sure it meets the quality and the delivery that is anticipated or expected, especially from the Red Cross. It's a water comfort class, but it's also a fun water comfort class. It's parents, and their kids getting time to bond in the water, to be in the water, but also have some fun. So I want to make sure our instructors feel good teaching that class and that we identify those who are strongest in that area. Otherwise it's looking for people to intentionally teach that class. And then our teen level 1 through 3 program, that requires some additional marketing. So, we tried piloting it. Obviously, there was not much marketing for the first session of that class, but through discussion, it's just important to market it first and really push for it. And then set a time for when parents can start registering for that class, what they're looking forward to versus having it appear there and not understanding what the class is. And then identifying Tukwola's demographics, which is actually pretty interesting. We're going to be adding a few more adult beginner courses and then one more adult advanced program. We have more adults here in Tukwila right now than kids. So it's important to make sure that we offer enough courses for everybody, not just our younger, students, but, we have had heavy demand for our adult classes. We've had 7 people on the wait list so far, in just this quarter, so that is a whole nother class. And so that is what I'm done for that. There's a lot, there's a culmination of a lot, so if it's confusing, please let me know. And then key focus areas, continue to offer our short term, long fin, sharp 1 and 3, increasing those as well as adults. Hiring additional instructors right now, to specifically teach beginner level courses and then have a separate set of instructors teaching our upper level courses. And then we want to make sure that we have, I want to highlight that we did reduce the capacity in our shark classes, so our minnows have stayed the same. We went from having 6 students in class to 5 students in class in our sharks program.
Is that reflected in the Q1? So would that be for all of Q1?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if that's like a reduction in revenue also, because,
It's like I could probably do the math.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
just,
extra spot.
when you mentioned that, it just suddenly dawned on me that maybe that be contributing factor.
Yeah, I would be curious to take a look at the pass rates before summer, so moving at the end of Q2, what the pass rates are compared to what we had last year, but it's very hard to say, pass and fail rates are not always an indicator of teaching, but it may just be an indicator of, we never know what that's attributed to, but it might be a helpful statistics to look at. And then scholarship usage, I just want to highlight, we did end up extending our 2024 scholarships to the end of January to allow people time to apply, and fill out applications. Out of the 17 that I did receive, only 7 were approved. We had, 5 that were incomplete, so they're still being submitted incomplete. And then 5 that are just awaiting approval, so I'm working on those right now. So that's probably why I see some of these numbers a little bit lower. I don't have last year's numbers on here. And then we talked about spring egg hens, BoC sharks. This one always ebbs and flows. This one is, we hit it out of the park that first month, and then we start to see a slow decline as kids get closer to their summer league times, that April, May. We have some kids, 3 of my upper level kids moving on to become lifeguards, so that's 3 out of that. And then most of our students are coming in from our long fin program, so we're creating that feeder program. So it'll take time to really see that come to light, but it's already happening, which is a good thing. And then overall, I want to highlight our swim club. So swim club usage is all of the swim teams that swim with us minus Kennedy and Foster. Kennedy and Foster will start in the fall tracking for that. But as far as numbers go, we, PDST, even though they run on just Saturdays, they still have more individual, well, we don't know if they're individual, but more students using, the pool, versus SMAC and our BoC Sharks. BoC Sharks come in second and then SMAC come in last, just by a little bit. So, we're neck and neck, but day by day usage, we do have more swimmers swimming day by day. Water exercise, we added Kelly's Friday night on our aerobics class, as well as our intro to synchro, which is not currently tracked for usage, but we'll start talking about for usage in the summer once I have an opportunity to meet with all of my aerobics instructors. Oh. Questions? I think we got operations.
No, it's data, so I am opening the table to questions anywhere that somebody has a question or just needs some additional information. I'm more than happy to sit with my guys and,
Why so many unknowns under, on the last page, membership type unknowns, senior programs?
we had a software glitch, with Explorer where there's a feature when we were doing waiver renewals, our liability waivers. It deleted addresses in the system. So we're working with Explorer currently to get those addresses to repopulate. And then we'll be able to, we're hoping we can backdate some of this data with those addresses being repopulated. But we should have backup and running.
But I mean, is that saying though that like, I mean, even if it's unknown, but the majority of the people we have are non,
We don't know.
it's just.
I don't, I have no addresses to run data on, until we get that address. The goal is if they can repopulate the addresses for us, is to hopefully rerun
Okay,
this data. If not, just need to make sure that we understand how that data got lost.
Or maybe
Um,
notation
And
for
not,
future.
yeah. So more info to come on. Not that I, that question I just can't. Yeah.
it looks like according, to the data that the women's only swim is just a teensy bit more popular than the men's only, is that correct?
Typically, it ebbs and flows a little bit. People found out that these, men's and women's only swim are great for lap swim opportunities as well.
Yeah.
So you start to see usage increase here and there throughout the year.
Well, clearly lap swimming is the most popular activity at the Tickle Pool.
Cool.
Nice.
So, anything else?
Nothing else, just for, just a simple.
Jumping on that.
One thing She's reporting, get into it, is that we have a couple of Mako sharks gonna become lifeguards.
Yeah.
So it's, and Daisy, I think some of us know Daisy.
Oh, right, Daisy.
Yes. So anyway, I was thrilled to see once again that grow your own thing at our pool.
Yeah, it takes time, but so we're out, one of our Elijah is actually homeschooled, I don't know, I think he's with Highlands School District, but he has swam with us to get his PE credit. For the time that I've been coaching, he's pretty much started since, which actually is her birthday this year, this month, the Micro Sharks turns 4. So, he swam with us 3 years for and Daisy as well. Ian, I certified a few, like the last class, but he was on our foster swim team. Great individual as well. We also hired another lifeguard, Hussein, who also came from foster swim team, but also they know our staff well, connected with our staff. We want to thank our staff for recruiting for us, basically. They do a great job of spreading word. They all have great relationships, professional, of course. So we want to just highlight that they really speak highly, and bring their friends on, work with us. And then Matthew did just run that lifeguard course. For spring break, we had 6 participants from that, for that course. We'll be running another one prior to or when summer starts. I can't remember off the top of my head, but hopefully we'll see full participation there. And anything else you want to touch on? That's pretty much it.
I don't mean to go back to the. On the membership type, is there any like what the unknown is? 463.
On the membership type.
Yeah, like it's like, 10 card punch, people like 800, 985, and like unknown seems like kind of a weird one since should be really in this.
That may be
system.
attributed to the way the software treats drop-ins. So our drop-ins show that they don't have a membership, but they're checked in for something. So it's the way it's set up. So we still have to, click attend on a person. And so when they scan in, it attends them automatically. When we do a purchase for Families Open Swim, we have to go in and click attend, and that scans them in, but they don't have a membership. So it may come up as unknown, sometimes, so it's hard to say, but it's not that they don't have memberships, it's that it may be treating our drop-ins as memberships with the way that it's set up right now. And there's no way to really keep the 2 separate because it's one single check-in screen, regardless of whether they scan in with a card or just paid cash. So that's what that attributes.
Yeah, because everyone who comes to the pool, even if they're just dropping in, they have to register. Is that right?
Yeah, we can do it in person, you can also do it
Yeah.
online.
But they have to account, in other words.
Right, I'm just saying like, that's,
Yes.
I mean, that's almost a quarter of this. Not quite, but you know, where it's like, it's a lot of things that are like unknown of what that is.
So does that, that represents every single person that's scanned in? Right,
It's scanned in, which could include those drop-ins.
Yes.
So it would have to be minus, the 463 minus from there, so, but yes, that's anybody that physically was there. Again, the data, pulling the data from the system was also not an easy feat, so it's a lot of reporting to create.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great, I think that, I'm just like, I am kind of, but it is like one of those like,
Yes.
no, that's a lot of people, like,
Yeah.
scan, like, we don't know what that is.
Right.
That's,
But if it is, like I said, if it is just like, no, it's just people that are scanning for day pass.
yes.
That have an
it could.
account, then that's like, you know, very explainable, that makes sense.
But it's hard. So-
But it's almost like, if that's what the case is, it should almost like not be included in the number.
I would think drop-ins, don't they, drop-ins have different rates for resident and non-residents?
Well, these are just numbers, though.
Yeah,
Number.
because I mean, well, yeah, well,
But I want to thank the team for putting it
yeah, I mean, it's,
to do it quarterly. I think that's actually helpful to see trends over the quarter, so thank you.
and I mean, even like to kind of see. Like open swim, lap swim, water exercise, like what that looks like, and it is like, I mean, obviously, we have a lot of open time for lap swim. But when you look at the number of people that are actually like doing the check-ins and stuff, it's pretty.
This all has to get refined. Fuller, because that's also misleading.
Yeah,
And I'll just say that from an operational standpoint. When somebody scans in, if there is not a physical person at the desk to change the assignment for the person scanning in the activity, they could be indirectly, a water aerobics person could be scanning into lap swim.
Oh.
This system is not, where the nuances of this system.
but it wouldn't be for open, family opens necessarily.
Not necessarily, because that's another activity.
Right.
And so if someone comes in with their 10 punch and they're here for a family open swim. And again, if you have 3 programs, the system can't tell which program you're
Yeah.
scanning into. It's only gonna scan you into the one that the screen is on, ready to accept customers.
Right.
And so it's a little bit of a challenge, and I think that's what we're starting to learn when running this data for the first time out of Explore. That I think second quarter would be interesting to see if we're able to refine what reporting and then clean up the unknowns if we can.
In a way, when somebody comes in and has their card, that they can, you know, click
Self-select.
on, suggest, you know, right, click on what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
At the beginning, yeah, we did that at the beginning of the year, and so it was so confusing for so many people. It's not typical when you walk into a facility that you have to select what you're there for, and so we got a lot of questions, a lot of difficulties, and if they didn't select, it didn't scan them in at all. And so we had to, and through digging, again, we had to enable a setting that just said, we're gonna scan you into the next upcoming event, so if,
based on their time of arrival.
Yeah.
So if you're showing up at, let's say, 8:55 AM in the morning. And let's say the next activity is lap swim, the system's gonna just scan into lap swim, because most likely. After a certain hour, you are there for lap swim, you're either there for lap swim or family swim up until 2 p.m.
And that's like, I mean, like, because I was looking like, Laps was doing like amazing, and then I'm like, we need to figure something out about back swim, and then, you know what I mean, like, that number seems like, then you look at it that way, because it's not a scam.
But you also look at the number of opportunities, right?
Right, I mean, I think it was like, there's a difference between,
Understood.
they were, sorry, I just wanna pull up that,
yeah,
the drop-ins.
okay,
The drop-ins are for family.
right, that's what I'm saying, like, this is more like
But yeah.
scan one,
So this-
versus like what the actual real number drop in is.
That
Yeah.
cost one is scanned, like I scanned it with something.
Right.
Might be interesting too in the summertime when we have more consistent front desk, right? Where someone's physically there maybe more frequently. Is that the case or not?
Well, even now we have two front desk people in the mornings, which will, again, when Brad said, run the numbers for quarter two, we'll hopefully see.
Or like, I mean, like this is like a lot of like going on and on about it, but is there a way to like pre-register somebody staying, like if, like, say if I'm in there, I'm like, I'm basically only coming up the last one. Mine gets scanned no matter what time of day I come in, it's getting checked for last one versus like somebody might only be doing one exercise.
No, you can configure a membership to say that it's eligible for an activity or not, but our health board, our lap swim, or 10 punch can go into whichever activity it's, we don't wanna restrict them or give them a restricted access.
Well, I'm not necessarily restricting the active, I'm just
So which
saying,
means we can't pre-check them.
Yeah.
Or
Be
tweak them.
nice if
not
someone
necessarily big tracking, but just to, yeah.
shows up, checks in the labs on his phone or something would be nice, right? Self-select while you're there as you're arriving, I think is something long-term. Again,
I think we should have things on the side of the door when you're walking to the pool. It's like a high five thing. Lap swim, boom, I'm here for aerobics, boom, I'm in here for, you know, whatever. Just awesome.
Sorry. Is there any plans when this is more refined to like display it out in the lobby or anything? Cause I think this, at least like the programs thing, it has like a lot of interesting information. I feel like.
discussion to put it in the newsletter.
Okay.
The goal, the ultimate goal at the end of the year is really just to do an annual report, right? You take the entire year, you build out your annual report. This is how we performed in certain areas with key indicators. This is how we've done it financially. We make the effort in our financial side. Why aren't we making the effort in our programmatic and our operation side internally? And I think internally, at the end of the year, we need to have something that isn't our state auditor's annual report, our internal piece. Because that's what we're always talking and looking for is how are we measuring up? How did we perform last year? And it supports the budget piece. But yes, I think there's opportunity to share it with our community, but we have to figure out how you do that without opening the box to a barrage of
Yeah.
feedback, good or bad. And then how do we explain it and who's gonna be able to filter and provide the follow-up data or the follow-up answers, because if I see this. You guys favor OPSO.
Well, I mean, like,
There's our family. opens
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say, Dan.
Tuesday, well, you're in school at 9 AM on Tuesday, and we're not gonna have an empty pool because, you know, 3 people are asking for family swim because. They think lap swim is fully.
My degree is swim lessons. I mean, it's not to not be transparent, but it's difficult, because I think this would open doors to question
Why is there not time for that?
and concerns, so, you know, it's like, I wanna make sure, like an annual report would be, more meaningful in the sense of a recap of the year. Versus
With less
why
detail.
aren't you offering more long and short, you know?
So, sorry, like, just so, I know I'm just gonna keep going on this, I'm sorry, but like, so the healthcare reimbursement scans is a separate number from membership scans? Or is that,
It's double filtered, so not.
it is double filtered, okay,
Yeah, so
so,
this is a more
So-
new report.
so the healthcare
It's a
reimbursement
subsection.
is also
Yeah.
included in that, okay?
Includes.
Cause but still, I was like, I mean, even still, I mean, lap swimming is just, I mean, that's over 3,000, like 3,200 or whatever versus 800.
Yeah, you have to think.
You know, I mean, I know it is like all day long, people are checking in,
You know.
and it's a cost thing, but it is like, it is kind of, like, it is,
Well, it seems.
it's a mind-blowing number difference almost in comparison to family open swim.
It might be more meaningful to have, how many people are in the pool at from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, whatever. Instead of this, because this is basically, I mean, what I'm hearing is the data can't be trusted because we don't know.
I can't understand.
Yeah,
I understand that, yeah, but it sounds
or a
like.
combination of.
It, you know, because of the limitations of software, blah, blah, it might be better to just, you know, how many people in the water from 8 to 9 and, you know, I mean, and then you query operations, and they're like, well, most of them are lap
And
swimmers.
that we can do, we have timestamps, so it's a great, and that is something we just now said.
I mean, like I said, I don't know, it is like, there's so much stuff and it is like, oh my gosh, what about this, what about this? There's like all these questions that start popping in my brain because I'm looking at colorful pictures of.
Well, and that's the point of this, is I
Numbers.
think we wanna know from a commissioner and or a volunteer standpoint, it's what data do you want that we could potentially pull within reason, now that we're
See what we can pull.
what we can, timestamps we can pull. And so that's a great way of looking at the pool of when the most people are traditionally checking in, because one of my favorite features is looking at our busy hours on my
Right.
website. When I go to the Topgolf website, I know I'm not touching Topgolf at 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. because they're indicator. And if we could do the same in different ways, let us do it. But so as you're thinking through this at any point in time, let us know what would be of value to you, and we will let you know if we can pull it within reason. Because this is good, and we had a healthy discussion on this. This was a great opportunity for the operations team to look through this and really start asking internal questions. How we serve, who we serve, what are the appropriate programs, so on and so forth,
Also
so.
staffing too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Great
I'll
discussion.
Is everyone? Questions or? Any questions?
Off to the side.
Okay, moving on to TPAC. And tweet that for Jerry. Yeah, TPAC. Again, thank you so much to our TPAC members. I understand I missed the TPAC meeting, but I understand it was a great conversation. And once again, thank you. I know Anastasia alluded to earlier, but thank you to both Di and Streamon for their contributions to ECHUNT. Is there anything anyone would like to add about TPAC? Sure. Next meeting is
This Saturday.
this Saturday. Sorry, no. Who's that? What is the date?
The next.
19.
19, thank you.
What's-
At 9 at the community center. All right, moving on to the finance committee. Aaron or Andrew, would you like to take that?
Sure. So our meeting was on the 24th. The three big topics was number 5 replacement, which Brad had already discussed. Sports facilities company's proposal, which we will be going over later today. And the addendum to the program manager's employment, which then had a follow-up board of commissioners meeting that same day. So I think that was about.
Perfect, and the next meeting is March. Sorry.
28th. Right.
Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, do you have more to say?
No, that was it.
Sorry.
No, I was just checking to make sure it was on the 28th.
Any questions for finance?
Not a question, but just had a quick reminder, I mean, I didn't, not sure what, sorry, like, did we have draft minutes for the special meeting in here for approval?
Yes, they were part of the consent agenda
Yeah.
Okay, I just.
earlier.
There's notes, yeah, gotcha, but just
Thank you for checking.
double checking.
Right there.
All right. Moving on to programming, marketing, reach. Who would like to?
We'll talk about that. So the meeting was the 15th. And we talked about programs update, water safety, summer's 2025 schedule, and swim for fun. So continuing to discuss swim for fun. Next meeting is this Saturday.
Great, the next one is, sorry, any questions for Kima? Moving on to feasibility committee, I'll do this, Brad touched on a couple things. Obviously, our three things, big accomplishments, well, two big accomplishments in particular. This quarter has been marching, initiated our financial audit, but also that King County Appeals Facilities Grant was submitted. And thank you to everyone, as Brett said, for the input. I do want to make a note about that. Everyone will get a copy of that actual application through email in a little bit once we catch up with stuff. So you can actually see the application. Brad will send it out during his weekly reports. I think towards the end of the report, people to catch up after he gets the annual report done. Just also that it did include the letter of support as a property owner. Tukwila School District did submit one. City of Tukwila provided this letter of support. Rainier Prep with a letter of support, and Kennedy Catholic. So letter of support. So that was
See all those.
yeah. So that you'll get a copy of that. It's on our to-do list. So but it was that was good. Our next. Once again, we're our next quarter we were looking at is creating a grant timeline to be able to better make sure we are strategically applying those grants, and we're probably going to have Rosen help us with that too. Obviously, the TSC long-term lease conversations. We've got a meeting with the school district at the end of April 30th coming up. And so that's going to be an ongoing thing, especially if we get a grant. We're going to need to quickly to make sure that we have a place for this, whatever we're using it for. And community engagement is something we're going to continue with. We actually accomplished one of the things. State of the City was a great opportunity to talk again with community members about feasibility as well as other things. Then we're going to start working on a scope of work, initial research on design, and working on the audit. So still, that's our draft or our next quarter's goals that are work. So still moving forward with a lot of stuff. Once again, our next meeting is April 21st at 4:30. Any questions regarding feasibility? All right. Moving on to business item 9A. Brad, take this one.
Yes, business number, sorry. My apologies. Resolution number 202503 is our change fund level resolution we're putting in front of the board. This resolution is to establish a change fund. It's essentially our on-site cash we use to either balance out tills or have cash on site if we are out of tills, to be able to issue our desk staff the opportunity to continue to operate should we be short. So we were typically, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we have started carrying more cash than we typically had, which is the purpose for this resolution, because our current change fund is at $550 on site. And so what we carry on site should be dated within our organization's policy procedure.
So I'll entertain a motion that we can discuss a little bit more about this.
To have a discussion.
Yes, so we can have a discussion.
You don't want to do discussion, motion discussion?
Preferably not.
You don't want to do discussion, motion discussion?
No, motion discussion.
Discussion, motion, different discussion.
Whatever. So moved.
Okay, so do I see?
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. As Brad introduced it, it's also going to repeal and replace an existing resolution. So resolution 9. Yeah, so this is just a kind of a housekeeping thing.
We carry no more than $550 on
How
site.
old was that resolution?
Well, it's called resolution number 9, so it's one of the. So.
I mean, that goes back to like, so.
2011,
12,
12.
20,
Did that, how much did that establish?
It was like $400 and something.
Okay.
Or was it not? Hold on,
One-
I'm sorry.
It was like
Hold on,
two.
I'm sorry.
Or something like, it's really.
Yeah, it was like 150 or 200.
Interesting, number one, so in this world of, digital pay, we're actually increasing the amount of cash we have at the register, so if people wanted to come in and rob us, they'll get access to more cash.
My apologies, no. So at any given time at the register, any staff working at the register would start with a $50 till. The 550 is what makes up our tills and additional change on site. So collectively, in a safe, we only keep up to $550 prior to any deposits. So any monies we make get deposited regularly within a day, 2 days, 3 days, I think max. We're making regular deposits in the bank and then remain 550 in the site.
So just also some information is that it had been increased over time administratively, not real, people had realized that actually we had a resolution.
So about $150 or whatever.
It was already at 550. Like that's what it had already been increased to that level. Administratively, there just wasn't an understanding there was a resolution that was associated with a change fund.
Has there been any paper trail of discovery of how it increased over time, or does it just? All right.
I do not know.
No, Jerry and I
I'll say
actually,
that.
good question. Jerry and I actually had a conversation about.
Cause I was at the finance committee where it was brought up and nobody.
No, it was just done, and I think it was simply a situation where it was just unknown that there was this resolution that existed. And did it come up through
Came up through our
it?
because we are turning over documents, and one of them is our change fund. What do we keep on site? So we can share that info. So it was a great opportunity for that to come to light and then realize we need to update.
So when is this like, there should always be 550 on there, if it exceeds over that, there needs to be an immediate deposit type thing, or is it just like 550 is a minimum? If it
No,
gets up to 700-800, then it doesn't matter,
no,
it's just.
the 550
I guess,
is, the 550 is the TPMPD cash on hand at any given time. So should the TPMPD choose administratively, they need to go to finance and say, we need to carry 1,000 on cash. Knowing that this is in place, they need to go to finance, and then there needs to be a resolution approved for any monies that the TPMPD keeps on site.
So again, to ask Aaron's question, if you have $1,000 sitting in that safe, you are against. If this was adopted right now, if you have $1,000 sitting in your safe, you are against the policy, is that correct?
No,
Because there's a deposit fund and a change fund, so the money that comes in would be into the
so if
deposit.
the money,
your bill today, because you're paying for
so like, so if we have a
services,
change
and
fund,
yours and his, it's money we bring in as revenue.
Right, so
Those are
that goes
monies-
into the deposit.
Correct, and those are monies we'll regularly reconcile and make regular. bank
And at the most,
deposits
you'll only keep a $550
of
petty cash chain
to make our tills.
to make your till.
and to
So
have
if
an
you get
emergency
people
50
who come
around.
in and give you $100 bill, you're not wiped out completely out of change. Okay.
And we're able to continue to offer a starting till for our staff to work the front desk.
What's wrong, Aaron?
It seems
I'm
like
just pondering like this, like kind of this like over under aspect, I'm sorry. But like, yeah, so if like this, like, I don't know, like. Somebody comes in and they're, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like I did, like I paid for my 1 year swim laps, like membership thing yesterday with cash. That was a big mistake. I want a refund and, that's like, I don't know.
then it would go refund back into the.
Yeah.
Well, that's the.
So then is it like, this part of this money is out of the change fund now, and we're under that, now we're at 250 instead of 550 because we just.
Well, yeah,
refunded
but you'd be
300.
taking in revenue during the day too, so.
That's gonna make up.
So, yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing this say is that
I mean, this is a
You want
number
a
that flex all the way,
$550
but we wanna, like, I mean, is it just like every Monday, this is what we wanna have in the.
It's just, the goal is to keep a minimum of 550 post
Able to
deposit.
make
If-
change for people if necessary.
Well, to keep, not a minimum, just keep a balance of $550, that's the change. And the money that you take in during the day, that goes into a separate, we're depositing this money. And then you still have your 550 change, although it does seem like a lot of money we need, but,
Well, on average, in a given day, you can run 4 tills.
right,
So if you have 2 front desk part-time staff members, that's $100 tills. It's $50
Right.
each. A manager has a till, that's another 50. And if another manager, because per auditing and cash management, everyone needs to operate out of their
there
own
are
till.
two, right, you can't.
And so
do
any
it.
given time, if the 4 of us are taking
Right.
transactions,
200 right there.
that's 200 tills I need to issue so you can appropriately manage your incoming cash. And then you fill out your cash log, you deposit everything. The revenue then gets deposited into our deposit account and the 50s continue to turn over. The $50 tills that can be made, put in a box so they can be issued on another day or another staff member.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. It's just we call it a change fund. That's what it was called on the resolution.
Yeah, we
but I
just-
think that's.
And you don't want to change fund name.
You need a motion.
Yes, let's not do that. unless there's a
Do
reason.
we need to put a motion in there to read the resolution by title only?
Thank you.
If so, then I make that motion.
Yes.
Wow.
Commissioner Seconds.
I have a thing.
I don't know, I just wanted to.
Okay. So a change fund resolution 2025-03, change fund level resolution, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District to repeal resolution number 9 and replace it with a resolution establishing a change fund level for pool operations. Sorry, I did it without even asking for a vote. So scratch what I just said. In favor of reading it by title only, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
We have discussion?
No, she read it.
Yeah, I
And we
read it.
already see you
Yeah,
read it.
there's.
For now.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
We already
Okay,
have.
so I
It's
just,
a little, I was like,
yeah,
okay,
so read
Check
it.
the motion.
And then now I'm gonna read it on title only. Change fund resolution, level resolution 2025-03, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Tukwila Pool Metropolitan Park District to repeal resolution number 9 and replace it with resolution establishing a change on level for pool operations. Right. Now, moving back to the original motion.
Your original motion was for discussion.
Yes.
There was
Well,
no motion.
you gotta make-
To approve it.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay.
You made the motion
Oh,
and Andrew seconded it.
Yeah.
I thought the motion I made, we had the whole discussion about was it discussion and then motion and then whatever. Okay,
I want
fine.
to clarify.
No. okay.
Is there any discussion on,
Additional discussion?
yes, on this resolution? Thank you for bringing up a point I forgot to do.
Okay, are we taking a vote then?
All those, further discussion, all those in favor of approving resolution 2025-03, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Great.
That is painful.
No, I forgot.
I was thinking it's Monday, did we all just show up? Like, what happened to that? Okay, moving on.
Okay, so moving to B, and that's the feasibility study preferred consultant selection. Brad, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I can jump in. In front of you is our ongoing discussion around, additional feasibility study services, which we, let me just. Should the Tukwila Metropolitan Park District Board of Commissioners approve awarding a professional service consultant agreement for the port facilities companies for the 2025 feasibility study project, which is the proposal, sitting in your packet, and the same proposal that has been making its way through, committees, including the current proposal, as it sits, is 49.5 with an additional 3,500 estimated for an additional trip to the market with 2 consultants. So it will be the 49.5 plus an additional 3,500 should they need to do a second trip. Funding for the project was allocated within our CIP lineup for additional feasibility services for roughly $75,000 for the 2025 year. And then again, a little bit of background in 2024, and when we launched our original feasibility study, there was the unanswered question of what does opportunities in South Center look like? In addition to continuing to strengthen our current feasibility study, and refining the information, that we receive. South Center is our lack of better business district, with the amount of foot traffic, the other experiences moving into the area after talking to this group and just kind of digging in. It does make sense for us to look at South Center. It does make sense for us to understand the economic impacts, that South Center could have. This isn't an opportunity for us to say, yes, South Center is it. It is an opportunity for us to answer that question while strengthening the schematic Councilman Hunsaker feasibility study we had commissioned. Within the feasibility study that we had commissioned, it seems as though we needed to strengthen our financials, our financial section of the study, as well as our economic impact, and how that relates to what we are trying to accomplish here in the area. And so this would be a good opportunity to really look at refining the data we currently have to strengthen why we're doing the project we're proposing, as well as simultaneously looking at South Center's opportunities before we make some final decisions. The ultimate goal of this feasibility study, or this additional study, is really to allow us to make an informed decision, or a better informed decision, on the TPMPD's long-term, long-range development goals. And I think that this study would help us make that informed decision. I won't go word for word discussion. Main focus is on-site or current site. Again, using this as an opportunity to, again, continue to explore all options to the TPMPD.
I make a motion that we approve.
We do an amount 55,000, because that'll take care of the 3,500 in addition, so but it'll
Yes.
just around 55,000
55,000
for SF.
for consultant, for hiring. For awarding a professional service consultant agreement to sports facilities companies for the 2025 feasibility study project in the amount of $55,000.
Commissioner Stahl, second.
A discussion.
I mean, is this like this 55,000 going just to South Center, or is there gonna be some crossover of like what we have up here also?
To be really, really clear, it's twofold. It's to fill in the gaps from our other one with regard to finances and market analysis. That wasn't addressed because our other one was a broader feasibility study. So we always knew that there was to be this situation where we're gonna do the big one and then drill down where we need to on these other pieces. So it made sense to do this company seemed to be one that was able to provide the various services that we needed, which was the financial pieces, to do the financial forecasting. What does it actually look like? And then also look at a business district, and they do this. And so to bring the two pieces together rather than commission one for this company seemed to have the qualification. They provided evidence of it. They provided examples of financial forecasting, like 5 and short term and a little bit longer term, as well, 5 and 20, as well as they are forward thinking. They are thinking, they look and are participants. They're just a feasibility company. They do everything from beginning to end. They actually even operate some of the projects that they do. So they are they are very in tune with what recreation's looking for in the future, which includes partnerships, how municipalities are able to afford recreation centers in the future, so
And
that.
being able to like point out like partnerships that we should be looking
No,
to, or,
not specific entities, but general, like, for example, healthcare. Like, you know, they will provide examples of what has worked. They can't connect us with anyone, that would actually be another question. But they can direct us
but
towards.
that's, I guess, that's right, yes.
Yes.
These are people you should be reaching out to. Healthcare is
Yes.
gonna be huge in this area, far larger than needing more facility space for training. For like Olympic hopefuls type thing, right? I mean, so, yeah, you should really steer this way more than this way.
That was what they discussed. They could show trends and they could show.
Exactly, that's,
Of this area, what could be possible.
yeah.
That was my understanding. Is that yours, Brad?
Yeah, and I just wanted to be careful though, right? It's not that they're not gonna provide us a list and say, these are great opportunities for you. It's, these are opportunities that you should start considering based on what we see taking place in the public municipality or sports entertainment arenas. These are partnership examples that we have facilitated and or are a part of already that you could potentially start exploring here.
And would this come with like, say, like recommendations also that kind of, they're like. Yes, you could put, you know, like a federal way size, you know, facility in here. It's probably not gonna be the smart ass idea, but you could still probably actually. Should be more into just building up at the location you're at and or location close to that,
That's what we.
you know, like. And maybe you should just make sure that you have an extra pool in there or physical.
So they were very candid about that. They said, we are not afraid to say that's actually not an option. It doesn't make sense. It maybe makes more sense to do this here and a smaller recreation pool in that district, or, you know, that's what they were very straightforward, that you're not commissioning us to say that what will be built at South Center, just what is possible. And if it doesn't make sense from their experience, then that's what they will say.
I mean, I would like to see, I mean, personally, more at the end of it, to be able to say, you know, kind of like previously, like, here's your three options. You can like tear it fully to the ground and totally rebuild it. You can do the remodel
No,
or. Well, what I'm saying is, so like, you know, or if it is like one of the things, and that's what like saying, like, what you do with this pool, to be able to say, yeah, no, you should keep this community pool, and you should, then options of having a pool that is just really set up for swim teams and water polo and like, and that sort of like aquatic activities, you know, at a South Center location could be very profitable for you with this,
Well,
you know what I mean, like. Or is it something like, we're gonna have to sit there and go, this could be good, but we don't really know, like, you know what I mean, like, I wanna know, like. Do we just go with one pool, or do we go with two pools, or do we go with, you know, and like, I wanna, you know, like, I feel like if we're narrowing it down, like I said, the South Center to me. In some ways, is a totally separate, a lot of ways, that's to me, like, is revenue generating.
well, the
Or the
last
hopes would be.
group that looked at, who did the original feasibility study, didn't ever even look at all they looked at was our
What we
location.
identify,
Yeah,
right? So,
that's.
yeah,
So to answer what you're saying, Aaron, what this is gonna do is it's gonna give us a better idea of what people are willing to spend, like what we can do for our they're gonna look at our existing site. That's in the scope of work. And they are also gonna look at South Center. So that might be something that they said, for example, it might be a situation where it's what you said, like it makes sense to do the community pool and a small rec pool at South Center, or it might make sense to do a bigger facility at South Center, or maybe South Center not at all, right? So they are gonna make those recommendations based on market analysis as well as, finance, like.
Yeah,
finance.
number
It makes sense. I mean, once again, South Center is expensive. That was one thing they kept alluding to, is the cost of property.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the bigger pieces here that our current feasibility study doesn't give us, is it doesn't, if you look at all of our current feasibility study, and this is not a dig to the consultants we had. Looking at the quality of the project that we have, I think served our immediate need, but I don't think they're capable of performing the level of work and the data we're looking for to tell a compelling story financially or through a market analysis that gets us to a point where we're confident in making the appropriate decision. And I think that's where the detailed financial forecast for those models will allow us to really look at a 5-year model and a 20-year model and go, whoa, hold a second. So there's a loss trend here. What are we doing?
Do you get the feeling, having spoken with this consulting group, that these are people who will actually get the information we need? Because, in order to know whether the business district could even support anything, whether it's a small pool or a ginormous thing, they need to know what's the vision for the business center? Who are the players in the business center? The fact that, Vanessa just emailed me about Sears wanting to build condos in their, we don't know. Right, we don't know what. Are the consultants that you're talking to saying, we need to talk to frickin' South Center, we need to talk to the city of Tukwila, we need to know what's going on, not just, oh, there's a spot, available across from Di's house that we could build a pool on.
Which, I mean, that's, I guess, to your point to the two, where I said, like the last one, we were consciously asking, who are you going to talk to? We need to send out letters and we need to inform the school district. And I feel like did they even reach out to the school district that much? Or was it just our reaching out and giving a presentation together for us? Like I said, we're spending money for people to be professionals to find out this information, not to use us to find out the information for them, and they put it in the pretty.
So they are not identifying land. They are going to first say, is this even a possibility in this area? Will the market?
Right, will
support
the
it?
350,000 people that come through
Yes.
the business district be able to support it? Or is it a no-go?
And then, right, so step
But in
one,
order to know that, you need to know what's going on at South Center. Like, if they had a plan to completely raise Westfield Shopping Town, that would be something that would be of interest for us to make a decision. So they would need to say, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look at the South Center area. We're gonna look at the business district. We're gonna see what's going on. We're gonna talk to the people who know what's going on. And that would be the Westfield people, it would be the Sigali people, it would be, it would be the city of Tukwila. We're gonna look at that because that wasn't what was looked at by the and it doesn't matter. I mean, we've already got that feasibility study. We're not gonna do a repeat of what we've already done. But the question is, for $55,000, in your experience speaking with them, do these people seem to have enough going on that they could identify this without us having to basically say, I think we should say, here's who you need to talk to, but then they need to be the ones talking to us.
Well, I think that was the example in the conversation. It's, do you anticipate reaching out to the tourism authority? Because they have a whole new sports and development unit, right, over the last few years. Do you anticipate digging into X? And that seems to be, in my opinion, talking with this, yes. I think this is a group that will dig in. This is not us. This is a group that understands the importance of data, not us. I don't understand the importance of the data of South Center. They have the bandwidth, the tools, the resources, and that is where they start.
because we can't do that.
No, we can't.
I mean, the other stuff we could do, right?
And
We
if-
could, a lot of the data and stuff that was in the last feasibility.
We're not going to. This last feasibility study was a heavy lift for the district, unfortunately.
Yeah, the district provided a lot of
Exactly.
information.
Yeah.
That is not the goal in this project.
Yeah.
Which is why it was asked for us, it was important that they do budget a second market trip. Where they come out, don't just come out once, come out
Right.
twice.
Right,
Get what you need on the first one, go do some work, come out again and refine what you need. If that's what's required, whether that's through presentation or meeting with us as teams, but a lot of this, I think they do. Because when you look at the scope and scale of what they're already producing across the country, and the partners they've worked with to produce and bring their projects to fruition, even in our backyard, Spokane, Washington, I think they do. And I think they understand the importance of working with a public municipality and trying to understand the vision of the area. Spokane has a vision for their waterfront.
Right.
They had to understand that before they can even come up with the concept of building and then being brought back to continue participating in what that vision looks like.
It's kind of an important piece. So like the Spokane Stadium or whatever it's called, thank you, I said stadium. Situation where Spokane had a vision, like they wanted this track, this banked track. That's what they wanted. And so they went to this company, it's like, how can we make this work downtown? We want people to come downtown, we want this track. So they came in and said, yeah, a track's not gonna, this, so you need to add a what, a this, and a this, a this, and this, and this, and to be able to attract it. So they came in and made those recommendations to a, downtown destination successfully.
And so what I would guess would that, if they come out here, they take a look at West,
All right.
they would take a look at Westfield. They look around the Westfield thing, they would notice that there's land, that that's a Galley land, and that there's, that there's, Joanne that's going out of business, there's several property, whatever, they would just see all that. And then hopefully they would, look at information that's available through the city. They would hopefully talk to somebody at the city, Derek Speck, I think, they would talk to possibly somebody at the mall. And then they would kind of get a feel of, okay, this is kind of, just like they did at Spokane. Spokane saw themselves as wanting a track, and these people came in and said, it's not gonna do what you want it to do. If you want your place to be a destination, then you need to provide more. And so they could then do that, and then, it would be the board like, well, we can't afford a $200 million investment in the, business district. And I mean, I was heartened by hearing that these people also operate things, because
Yes.
that makes a huge difference.
So that was another, so once again, they do the beginning, but Brad, can you remember that number? Like, it was more than 25, like it was enough.
In terms of,
Numbers, the ones that they actually operate.
it's on their website.
So it's,
I think the nuances of what we're trying to accomplish, and again, going back to that question, is this a group? I think it's a great question for us to refine and just make sure that we're checking those boxes and just ensuring that these are areas that we just go up to
About.
access service, their projects, federal projects. Yeah. And then it was what they're managing across the country.
Yeah.
So these are things that
They know.
Exactly, and that, I think what really got me with this group in looking at everything is because we were talking about South Center, and not a local architecture firm isn't gonna be able to run a study like this for us. I'm sure they could, they're gonna outsource a lot. Councilman Hunsaker is a great consultant for aquatic businesses, but they're not a consultant for what we're trying to accomplish, should there be opportunity.
Thinking is, like, sorry, Brad, I'm interrupting you there, because this is the thing, is that the municipalities especially can't afford recreation. So this is what they're looking the future, what's gonna be happening, and how can we not be doing what has been done for a gazillion years? This is what could happen and what is happening. Go ahead, Brad, sorry.
No, we're there. I think we're all saying the same thing. And I think my point to what Ellen and Aaron are asking, I think it's just a clarification and just to re-engage in that specific area of who are we intentionally needing to and encouraging for them to reach out and make sure that is a part of that discussion. And then,
One thing I did want to mention is they're very clear, they're not architects.
Right.
So we're not paying
Right.
for architect things, so.
But we're paying I think that one thing that they can offer is we might know our area, and we're certainly gonna know our area better than they do, and we should be a resource for them for things like, oh, by the way, Joanne's is closing and blah, 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 and, whatever. But they have consulted with everything from Spokane to, they consultant and they also operate, and they bring in that expertise that we have no idea. I mean, they might have, they might come to Tukwila and go, oh my God, this is like amazing, or, oh my God, I could totally see how you could just sink a boatload of money in this thing and nothing happen. And in either case, I think that that's what I want to hear is what are their thoughts based on their expertise? I don't want somebody to tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me the objective truth.
Sorry, that's a really good, that shows the advisory, the development and the management of what they're involved with, so. Yeah, no, I agree with that, Ellen, thank you for pointing that out.
Wow, lot on the east.
Yeah, well, they're Florida based.
Sports stadium.
Yeah, but I think, and they do all sorts of things, so, like, weren't we just talking about someplace that's doing, what is it, pickle and,
Talked about the
pickle and
chicken and pickle concept is what they were joking
the
with.
Chick-fil-A complex?
Yeah, so in other words, you have a restaurant, a chicken restaurant. Which is but pickleball people are very social. So they
So
come to play pickleball, but they actually are coming to hang out in the restaurant afterwards. So that's what generates the revenue.
I'm not saying we want that, but what I do want is somebody who
Well,
knows.
it's the same, it's like, I mean, that's, law of
Yes.
saying, here's this thing to come do, you're making the money off of the rental of the hotel room, it's good.
But to accomplish that goal, it doesn't necessarily mean that the TPMP has to own those extra experiences. That's the partnership piece. To
Right,
create that experience, it might take one or two partners if they think South Center is viable. If they say no, focus on community, but still bring a partner, then we need to start pivoting our thought process. I brought this up because I thought this was fascinating because it's my last point, and one of the pieces I appreciated, Vanessa as well, is we consistently, and what I've appreciated about this group of commissioners and volunteers, we've always said, and I hold on to it, we're not looking to build a showpiece. That's not our purpose. We're not looking for an award-winning design that says we are #1 in the region for design and product and material. We know that. They know that. Their job is how do we effectively build a facility that meets your needs with the materials that are gonna withstand time and your ability to flex in that space, whether you need to expand or not. And the materials, the size, the scope, what they choose, but how they accomplish that goal. This is a perfect example here. I'm a fan of this. They still look good, but they're also affordable to build. In terms of the size and scope of what they're trying to accomplish. So they understand budgets matter. They understand getting that project off the ground, not looking for that shit.
So although we're not like doing architecture, so they use an example of, but what is nice is we can pull them in a la carte for other things too down the road if we appreciate how they work. For example, as what was it called? Brad, what's the project manager, but
GCM or GM or?
no, project like.
Owners representative.
Like representative, like for example, like for reviewing designs and things like that. So they said, for example, there was one project they had, they're looking at it and they were doing one of the more comprehensive ones, and they said. The architect put it really pretty, how the architects come in and they put the concession over here and this there, and they said. You do not put the concession stand there. It's gotta go by the front desk. Yeah, it's not gonna be so pretty, but you have to staff that.
It
over
is what
there.
it is.
And you have to, why would you pay to staff that? How, the cost of operating. So they're coming from the lens of that too, which I liked that, those kind of comments resonated with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andrew?
I have nothing. My questions at finance and feasibility, so.
And just as finance commented, there's no statutory requirements as far as bidding requirements for services that are, unless they're architecture, A&E, architecture and engineering, so these.
Yeah, that's what I mean, my biggest concern, I think, like, along with Ellen's, it sounds like, that they are actually going and speaking with people and getting information, not just regurgitating information, a little bit if they're polishing, that would be great.
Yes. Heard.
Okay.
So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the for 55,000 to sports facility companies, say aye.
I,
All those opposed? Thank you. I think it's like it's feasibility number. I really appreciate this.
I'm excited that you guys found this. I think
Thank
we-
you.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, I just really just like,
I
Well, I
know,
think we're all there, because I think we've all gone through this together, and this was our first opportunity, even those that have been on the board the longest, this is our first feasibility study as a TPD. At the scale in which we received one, so I mean, I feel the same that you guys are feeling, I think we definitely understand the importance of what we want this group to dig into, to get a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, especially in a corridor that we know there's tons of opportunity.
wait, so when are they gonna report to us?
What's that?
When is the report coming?
That's a great question.
2 weeks, so
Okay.
we're gonna be going to them and getting this executed.
Yeah, so I'll connect with them and then we'll start refining, but the biggest piece is, I would highly encourage, I know Ellen is very much interested in, if we can get the meetings, to align with folks' schedules, I would highly encourage, as we can get them in front of you, to, sit in on them and participate, when they're ready.
Yeah, let's do. Because if you talk, if you listen to them talk, that's so much more beneficial than hearing our interpretations.
and sorry, you say that at the meeting you guys are setting up.
Well, we're gonna, I mean, there's a
Couple, yeah.
process of, getting a contract in front of them, which is basically dumping all this into.
So
it,
look,
but-
we're talking September, October.
Final report
No.
will be,
But we have a final report.
We start.
No,
final
September,
report,
October.
September-ish,
Yeah, thank you.
October.
Yeah. All right,
She's like, what?
no, we're gonna get going before that.
yeah, no, that's when we're gonna be, Andy.
The round legislative.
Nothing, Nate, this is just informational, it's a standard piece, especially during the legislative season, just so everybody's aware. What we did is just included what we had access to at the time. Anything in highlight on page, it looks like 1, 2, 3, well, I'm not even gonna count, but anything on this drop down that is highlighted, please feel free to read through. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer those. A couple of these, House bills are dead in the session, but those of note, I have to flip through my own pages in there, explore. This one, on the backside with a lot of yellow there, and since you're following there. This one is E2SSB 50 or 5098, I believe that is. Weapons in certain areas, restricting the possession of weapons on the premises of state or local public buildings, parks, playgrounds, facilities where children likely to be present in county fairs and county fair facilities.
Are they not currently restricted?
I haven't really dug
No.
in. It's a great question.
They're not? People can just take their semi-automatic to the Jewel Fair.
Well, they'll have their specific policies in place. This is probably more of a blanket policy that all things have
Oh,
to
okay.
follow.
You shall not.
Okay.
So that's, and so thank you so much, Anastasia, bringing it up. There's where it's passed the Senate, it's in the House, and has it scheduled to be on the floor? What does that one say?
Does, wait.
It's not scheduled yet.
Okay. Yeah. So it's Rules Committee placed on.
Six months second reading.
And
Okay.
then, Susan, can you go to Senate Bill 578?
Yeah.
That's the one that
There's a lot of people showed up for that
Yeah.
hearing.
What's that one about?
concerning property tax reform, this is your 1% to raising that 1% property
3%.
tax.
Oh.
A lot of people showed up again in opposition to that one.
So that is, making its way through again.
Okay.
Any questions on legislative update?
They're done in like 16 days.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah, they're wrapping
We're
up.
down to it. Okay, now we're adding back in our commissioner reports and we're doing order for this one. So we talked about this before, we're gonna just start doing our report outs now that we're past COVID. We're out in the, I'll start it out. First of all, I wanted to publicly thank Senator Hasegawa for attending our event. That was really great that he made it over there after the town hall, and we really appreciate it. Yes, and his wife for coming, and we had some great conversations with both of them, and thank you, that was wonderful. One of us, I did attend the city meeting on TPMPD's city, and as Brad indicated, there's programming. We also had some discussions on grants and keeping both of us in the loop on grants going forward with grants if possible. So that was interesting. In fact, they shared some, they were actually sharing information with us because they had received updates on the status of the grants. So that was really nice of them to, they sent a follow-up email on that. And we shared our demo, sorry.
Well, I didn't want you to forget, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention the Seattle Foundation? That was a big piece of it. I just realized. And that I didn't want to take from you. You found that, and I just want to make sure you did not leave it off.
Yeah, so just to follow up, we shared our demographic data that we created for our grant to give, because they had shared some demographic data for us to be able to compile it. We went farther with it, so we shared it back to them, and I think they appreciated that. But yes, in one of the latest city Parks and Rec guide, I noticed there was the Seattle Foundation is what they are driving people towards to be able to donate to the city of Tukwila Parks and Rec.
Nonprofit.
Yes, so we just inquired with them as to what that relationship was like and how were they, and they said they're still fairly new to it and they're not using it to the maximum capability, but it's been a good partnership. So it's something that we can look at too. As they're already doing city of Tukwila, just to maybe research to see what that looks like as a 501c3 pass through help, for us. So they haven't used it for capital yet. It's mostly just for programming. So they're still working on it, but so far their relationship's been okay with it.
Do they have does the Seattle Foundation take a cut?
That's what we have to research and look into. They didn't know a lot about it, the group that we were with, so we were gonna follow up with it, but certainly worth looking into. And that was one thing, so just along those lines, when we were looking at, what was that one? There was a park, not a park, a small city down by Tacoma who just did a pool for Crest, thank you. Like the Tacoma Foundation to fund it. So I was reaching out to those commissioners as to what that looks like. And so it was just part of feasibility. We're looking at all different avenues.
It'd be interesting to see if we could partner with the Tukwila Children's Foundation.
So that was on my list of ones too, to see what that looks like. And whether, yes, pros and cons of each.
Or Still Waters, if that's still available.
Yeah.
Because that is family
Yes.
and it's Tukwila based.
Yeah, so that's absolutely, thank you. So that was the city meeting, then the we have a TSC meeting I mentioned coming up on April 30th. And don't forget, elections are coming up, May 5th to 9th through 9th is the filing period for those, for anyone who'd like to, it's position 3 and 4 are up, and we do know that Jerry has indicated initially that she will not, she wasn't looking to rerun, but Andrew, I understand it was interested. I just wanted to throw it out.
Are we running?
Yay! So just, just for people, and I did have an office, so that goes on to the state of the city. I was able to distribute some information. I don't want to add it to our agenda packet right now, but we do have it available at the park district.
What, this?
Yes, or it's in, yes.
It's in your binder.
Yes, you've already been distributed, not part of the meeting. Anyway, I was able to, add, give it out to some people, and it was helpful to have that, connected with the community. What I really appreciated too was the community members who were looking for swim lessons, especially the adults who were looking for swim lessons at the state of the city. And I also really appreciated, these two connecting with youth who were there at the State of the City. It wasn't just.
That's great. Well, no, the
Yeah.
youth was, the cheerleaders were there, I think.
But there was a group of young men, who I think were STIR students who were interested in summer employment, so. Being able to share that, so it was nice to connect. We were actually positioned well, about 4 tables in from the entrance, so that was good. That was helpful. And my final part of my report is welcome Anastasia on her new position with us, the first meeting, so thank you. You know, or not the same position,
Expanded.
just expanded, so, well, thank you for taking it. That's the end of my report. Ellen.
No report.
No report.
Jerry's not there, and Aaron.
Well, I mean, minus. Came off the special meeting. You know, usual. I mean, and then minus just like going and swimming.
Was it good going?
3 days to 4 days. Last week I did every day minus Monday. So, well, I mean, it's just.
Is it busy? What time do you?
Well, that's when I was just reporting on that, but it's just, yeah, it is kind of interesting to swim at different times in the morning and kind of see like the flow of numbers and who's in and ebb and flow, and then Saturday, and it's interesting to see like, you know, it's like either like early Saturday and see the transition of like having like the dive people coming in and getting that set up, and then like progressing also to having like the deep water aerobics coming in and just like seeing like this, like everybody kind of like doing their jobs and progressing through like what these changes are today, so. You know, so,
Good job.
yeah, interesting.
It's good. They enjoy seeing Aaron around. So after you walk out, it's like, oh my gosh. And you have a fan, so.
Somebody's
Yeah, some of our
telling stories.
staff
again.
really enjoy having Aaron around. You swim on Sunday.
It's fun. I haven't swum on a sun.
Everyone
No.
keeps saying the last swim on Sunday, man, but I
haven't made it
been
Sunday.
waiting to see what
I
that
bet it's like
feels like.
It'll be.
empty. I mean,
Right at 7, yeah.
When we do the timestamp data, we'll know.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm impressed with like, so the number of people that show up, and like I said, Saturdays are just, you know, crazy. And like I said, was it 2 weeks ago when the King County Aquatic Center was closed down for the college nationals also?
Oh, wow.
There's like the Federal Way Senior Masters Club had come in and done some practice. for
oh,
some-
wow, I bet that was cool to watch.
Yeah, surprisingly, like I said, I'm wonderfully out of shape and slow and horrible feeling, and just to have like a senior, you know, props out to the Masters Club down there. You guys are amazing. I mean, it was just like, it's inspiring to know that like, yes, you can get back into shape. Yes, you can stay in shape. Yes, swimming is a very fantastic
Well, actually,
sport to do.
one person in my class whose husband has recently started swimming early in the morning, and he needed to, for health reasons, to do it, and now he went 20 laps, he's already up to 50 laps to be
Wow.
able to do it, and she just said, he just says how clean the pool is, how much they value this pool. It's just changed his life.
Awesome.
And we
You know,
have
so I mean,
neighbors
it's
across
props
the
to
street.
the staff, you know, and everybody is making it look so good.
Yay. Yay, you guys.
Good job, guys.
Making everyone so good.
All right, I make a motion.
There's no miscellaneous.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I didn't put it on last. It's not materials, but the binders, today is just the preliminary run of the binders. We're trying to help streamline some of the things in your packets for the board meetings. If you've already flipped through it, you'll see some quick resources in there. These binders will be for you to take home, but before you take them home today, I just want to give you all an opportunity to let me know if there's any other resource that would be helpful in there. We have things like the executive session template, and there will always be a standard operating procedure binder, which will have the actual form for the executive sessions, just so we're not, that's, I know, talking about, but, So yeah, just take a look at that. I will be taking them back, but I would like to
Don't
hear.
get so attached right now.
I'll be taking them back, but you guys will get to keep them after next meeting. Is there anything off of the top of your heads that, you'd like to see adding into the packet? If not, you can also email me. There's plenty of time between now and the next board meeting, to have anything on
Well,
there.
how about like most of our different committees come up with these calendars?
PMOS is not ready in the sense that we get our certification. Federal.
But yes,
Yes,
the
we're
goal
working.
is,
We're working for feasibility.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that way, so the big piece of this, as Anastasia pointed out, is the board packet started getting very cumbersome with what we were constantly providing. And a lot of what I was noticing and having discussions with staff on, when you go through the board packet, a lot of some of the materials are annual materials that we can make readily available at the beginning of every year, as we approve some of this or we refine some of this, and then the board packet becomes a more streamlined, condensed version that's very business driven for the purpose of the board meeting itself. So yeah, as things come up, and or, thank you for bringing that up, honestly, for as things come up and or things may be of a benefit to you or the board, that we can provide, so it doesn't need to be specifically in the board packet unless it's required to be, let us know. And we'd be more than happy to create and or provide that document.
well, I know that, working on the Tuckahoe School District Board packet, they do not print their board packets out.
I think this group still is,
Yeah.
still is wanting.
Because I mean, I think the binder is great, but if you look at what was provided here, I don't see anything in here that would
Yeah,
be, I mean, all of this stuff is all unique to this meeting. I mean, except for, well, the agenda is unique to the meeting, but the, mission, vision, and values, I guess you could get rid of that,
Let's
but,
not get rid of that.
um,
You can see what the kind of things that got taken out, like the, BoC agenda, the TPAC, attendance
a
schedule.
lot of the financials
Wow.
that will.
The finance work plan, that was all in the packet every time. So those are some pieces that,
right,
the budget.
but this,
How come you got that color version of the feedback?
Some CPAC is color, finance is not. I was like, help finance save money by not printing their items in color.
So the annual budget, oh, I see what Ellen's looking at. So Ellen, what's in the binder is the approved annual budget. What you will get in the board packet is the budget report. So that way, anyone that has not had an opportunity to go to finance committee, at least is up to date with our budget for staff list.
One thing I would be helpful is just like meeting
OPMI,
OPMI stuff, like they have like this, the basic practice tip thing that's from our SC.
So there's more than just providing like policy or whatever, it's a resource for those that are new or just need a refresher. So things like OPMI or MRC, all of those things, as long as they help you, that's what I'm doing. So I'll.
They just have like a basic.
yeah, you can have like a
Like
resources
2
tab.
pages. It was like super simple
Yeah, I love MRC. They do a lot of good work.
You can just do that resource tab, as a suggestion,
What is that?
just a tab for resources.
With the general.
There's general
Yeah,
resources.
resources, resources.
Yeah, and Robert's Rule of Order, and then forgot what else was in there, in the general resource.
Oh, we do have a general rules.
Yes. I think it's just read it, and then no, it's. So
Oh,
that.
I'm not, I think MRC, the executive sessions and BoC, so that way,
No, that makes sense.
yeah.
And then our agenda,
And we'll continue to refine it,
Yeah.
but this is good feedback. Again, these are one-off items that don't necessarily need to be provided in the board packet, so the board packet does remain that business-driven full meeting. And then we can get through it, especially if there's things where the board packets don't have a lot going on or no major business items or resolutions, but we're still printing a full packet because of all the financials and the budget report and the this and the that. It's becoming very cumbersome. And then we look at the waste and our printing costs and color costs and everything else. Oh, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible to all parties on our current, yeah.
No, I appreciate it
Yeah.
because I love paper. I mean, and I was like, why you don't print it? And basically what what they do is they print the agenda. And then the board members all get electronic copies and then, I mean, I don't know.
And I think people like, I know Jerry for sure, I actually like
But yeah,
that.
but Jerry's decided to leave us, so I'm thinking about, I mean,
So like having a paper copy, I
prefer digital.
so
Yeah.
maybe.
or maybe that's it. If you-
Right,
if
I mean,
there's
it's-
digital
Give it the
prints.
option, yeah.
Yeah.
And if we can get in the habit of doing this, it's provided to you. If you don't bring a device to look at a digital copy, it's your preference. At that point, I think what we'll continue to do is provide paper until we get to that decision, but.
Because that is the thing, the school district also has, laptops or whatever, tablets or whatever, so that they can be looking at it, because I'm not looking, if I didn't have this with me, I can't see that from here very well, so I'm not gonna follow along with my phone.
Let's rearrange
I
seating.
understand.
So you're saying that we should start providing
Laptops.
computers to everybody?
Tablets are like $8.
I mean, that is almost true.
But anyway, I didn't see that.
Yes, if
Yeah, I
anyone
would really love a pen.
Oh, good, that's
Is the
all.
pen have to go back tonight too?
Can I keep the pen?
Does the pen have to go back tonight too?
No, we have like 150 of those.
Nice.
But yes, in the
Okay.
meantime, please just email me if there's anything, or Brad, if anything comes up, and I'll get that printed out. I'll be just throwing it out there, I'll be out next week from, Saturday after the TPAC Rock meeting to the following Friday, but in the meantime,
She's going to Hawaii, let's just say.
To where?
not during the public meeting.
Oh, no.
Anyways, yeah, well, I mean, we will reach out to Brad and. Yeah.
Thank you.
The other miscellaneous before I just. Okay, no executive session tonight. So I think Ellen was keen to make a motion.
I make the motion that we adjourn.
Commissioner Saul, seconds.
Is there any discussion on adjourning? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're adjourned.
Yeah, so go to Hawaii.
Where you going?
Well,
What? Oh.